Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Weathering Autism. I'm so glad that you've decided to tune in to this episode today. Please, if you have not done so already, I know there are people that are viewing these videos but are reluctant to subscribe. Please help us out by subscribing. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell to get notifications when I post new videos. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Listen, share this content with somebody that you know that needs it. Especially episodes like this. Michele Sanchez-Stierheim, she is, as my promo said, the executive director and founder of Spectrum Warriors. And if you watched the episode before last, when Michele Renee Alexander Druitt was with us, she is a very good friend of Michelle's, and actually the connection was made. The two Michelles, I have to remember they're the two Michelles. There was a connection that was made between the first Michele, myself, and the second Michele. And I just want to thank Michele number one. Thank you so much for hooking us up and connecting us, and for Michele number two's eagerness and desire to respond and to come and to join me here on Weathering Autism. If you did watch the promo, if you haven't, I would encourage you to do so. Michele and Spectrum Warriors are doing a fascinating work. And the one thing I love about Michele is that she's a woman of action. There's a lot of people who are talking today about issues and problems, and for the most part it's a lot of talk. There's not a lot of action behind it. There's not a lot of effort being put to make real change. And but that's not the case with Michele. She has addressed head-on some of the issues with law enforcement in one of the biggest and most major cities in America, in New York City. And these days I think it's very interesting. There's a lot of discussion as of late in the past few years about police, and you know, this disconnect, and there's this lack of understanding between police officers and different communities. And again, there's been a lot of people talking about it, but there's not a lot of people doing anything about it. And for me, that's a big deal. You know, people can talk, but it's much more effective when someone takes a stand and actually puts a plan into action. And Michele did that. It was literally a single person, and she has had people that come alongside her now and that are working with her in her nonprofit, but initially it was one person that decided that a change needed to be made, and she stood up because of her own experience and said, I have to do something about this. I have to do something about it. And I so greatly admire her for that. You have to hear her story. What led her to found this organization that would literally be training police officers in how to become more understanding toward people with different abilities, as Michele number one would say. People with different abilities. Her own story is fascinating. I did an episode on violence. It was my first episode called Violence, Violence Everywhere. And we addressed how there's so much violence taking place in classrooms, in care centers, all around the world, all around this country. And Michele has lived it. Her children have experienced horrendous abuse. This is exactly what catapulted her to take action. And so I don't want to give too much of her story away. I want to give time to Michele. You know, I try to keep these videos under 20 minutes. And we might go a little over on this one. I'm not sure yet. But I did want her to give her just due and her time to just speak to you about her story, and the fact that I hope it inspires you that one person can make a difference. One person can make a change in our society. One person can do that, and she's doing it in such a profound way. And so I want to let Michele go ahead and share and to speak in her own words, and I'll be back after. Michele.
Hello, my name is Michele Sanchez-Stierheim. I am a mother of 5. My 2 youngest are autistic, and I am also the founder and executive director of Spectrum Warriors. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to our autism community. I have been advocating for my autism community for the past 6 years. It all began with a diagnosis that I received for my youngest son, Gabriel. We received his diagnosis just after he turned 4, and I wanted and needed to know everything I possibly could about autism so I could better support my son. A quick intro about me is when I got my son's diagnosis, I wanted to know and I needed to learn, and I just kept going, and now I have an international certification in autism. I have sensory enrichment therapy. I'm a provider for that, as well as various other things. Spectrum Warriors didn't officially receive its name until my son gave it to us. We began as a grassroots organization and movement simply due to me not being satisfied with the level of support that was being offered to other parents, including myself. I wasn't happy with what was out there. The experiences that my own 2 have been through, it's all combined has been a driving force for myself personally and for Spectrum Warriors, and helped form our mission statement. My son and my daughter, they haven't had the best of experiences, if you will. My son had been physically assaulted multiple times by school staff. He had been bullied and then was transferred to another school where absolutely nothing changed, nothing got better. In fact, things became worse. He was harmed even more. He had a pencil point first shoved up into his eye, cut up his whole cornea, his entire cornea. My son has also had threats of 911 being called on him, as well as actually having 911 called on him. And I cannot tell you how horrible, how horrific it is, the feeling of getting that phone call and having to literally race to beat the police to your child, to try to get there first before they do, so that way there's no misunderstandings. It's a horrible feeling. During most of these nightmarish experiences, my son, whom, although by this time he was talking and communicating vocally, he just shut down, and he couldn't communicate in words to tell me what was happening, to tell me what was going on. Instead, he communicated through behaviors. His behaviors changed. He began hitting himself and self-harming, biting, his meltdowns became so intense. He refused to go to school. He even grabbed his sneakers a few times, put them in the bathtub and turned on the water. But thankfully, my son is in a good place now where he is learning in a positive, supportive, encouraging environment. They are nurturing, and he's learned how to trust adults again, and that's really huge. I'm sure many of you can understand. It was through these experiences, these horrific experiences, especially with 911 and police officers, that I realized that officers, unless they have autism in their lives personally, they really don't know. They don't understand. And if they don't know, how can we expect them to be able to handle a situation or navigate any kind of situation involving an autistic child or adult? We can't expect it. So it was from these experiences, these things that my own children went through, the things that I listened to other parents telling me that their children went through, that I had this realization, right? This aha moment. And I knew I needed to help, and I knew I wanted to help. And I had to find a way to make things better. I just had to. So I just started reaching out. I started reaching out to officers, and the response from every single officer within NYPD that I have been in contact with has been just amazing. The men and women in blue have been phenomenal. And together, officers and Spectrum Warriors, we are working hand in hand. We're collaborating, and we're pushing to increase more positive interactions, and more so to build meaningful, sustainable relationships through community engagement. And we have a focus on autism acceptance, not awareness, but acceptance and understanding and inclusion. And Spectrum Warriors started an annual tradition with the 32nd precinct of our annual Autism Family Day, which this year we were blessed and had the New York City Department of Corrections also join us. Again, phenomenal men and women. We also hold other community events with NYPD as well. For example, a trunk or treat, which for this year is still in the planning phase. I have created a PECS emergency board for my officers, as well as a social story and these things, as well as other tools that I have provided them with in conjunction with the hands-on, or as I call it, on the floor, real experiences, real interactions have they've set a wave for our future and for further positive engagements and interactions. And it's the foundation that's needed with law enforcement, and the results speak for themselves. I am eternally grateful to every officer who has allowed me to guide them so that the positivity can continue. And this is indeed a testimony to the character of all of the men and women in blue. And I am so grateful and so blessed and honored. and the New York City Department of Correction. They have been absolutely phenomenal, just with wanting to connect to our children, to our adults, to the families as a whole, from their boldest hockey team, to their disaster relief association, to their union. Yes, Koba, I'm giving you a shout out because you guys have been amazing as well. Anybody who thinks that Spectrum Warriors does only things with law enforcement and connecting with law enforcement, we do so much more than that. We offer parent support, mentorship, parent support group meetings, which are child friendly. We are getting ready to launch a therapeutic art program for parents and child for free. And we also offer individualized support. Say a parent needs help getting paperwork together. Well, then we're going to do a home visit. I'm going to sit down with you and help you get that paperwork together. If you need an attorney, we're going to try to help you get an attorney. If it's been a crazy week and you just need somebody to talk to, reach out. We're there. For those who don't know, we are a DIR, floor time driven organization. And for those who don't know what DIR and DIR floor time is, it stands for, the D is for developmental, the I is for individual differences, and the R is for relationships. DIR is a relationship-based model, and it's a specific technique, if you will, to both follow the child's natural emotional interests, or their lead, as we say, and at the same time to challenge them towards greater and greater mastery of the social and emotional and intellectual capacities. Spectrum Warriors officially became incorporated as a nonprofit organization in New York State in February 2018. And as of February this year, we received our 501c3 status. I honestly had no idea how I was going to make any of what I wanted to do happen, how I was going to make any of this work. There was no money reserved in a bank account. There was no starting, platform, starting step. There was just a desire to want to help. Our goal is always for our families to know that they're not alone. We are a village. And my personal goal is to ensure that acceptance is spread throughout New York, and hopefully eventually beyond New York. Because everybody has this fixation on awareness, and awareness is great, but awareness just says, hey, I know it's there. I want and need for the rest of society to understand that our children, they aren't broken, and that box that everybody thinks is there, that box that society expects us all to conform to fit into, that box doesn't exist. Poof, no box, right? There's no box. I'm also currently working on a children's book, The Life of a Green Trapezoid. It's a story about being different, but with a huge positive flip. Again, because I wasn't satisfied with the books that I saw available for my children. This is one of the ultimate goals of Spectrum Warriors. We want to create as many opportunities as possible, not just for families, but for our children and our adults, for them to be able to go out into their communities, and not only for them to be welcomed and accepted and included, but for them to be treated with the same amount of respect and dignity that any human being deserves. I thank you for this opportunity. Every single parent, if you're out there and you're a parent and you see this, just know that if once you come to me, your child becomes my child, and your family becomes part of our larger Spectrum Warriors family. And we are here for each other. We are here to support each other.
Again, I want to thank Michele Sanchez-Stierheim for being with me today. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for giving us insight concerning your purpose and what is driving this amazing organization, Spectrum Warriors. I want to encourage you, everyone who tunes into Weathering Autism, to go and visit Michele's website. Go and visit her Facebook page. I have included links to those places in the comment section of this video. This is a part of what we're here for. We're here again to promote other entities, other businesses, other nonprofits, other ministries who are doing a great work in the autism community. And I know that's kind of a weird thing. You know, people today are about self-promotion. But one of the things that God laid upon my heart is that this has to be a big part of what MOCWA is, Moms of Exceptional Children with Autism. Thank you so much again for joining me on Weathering Autism. Don't forget to let someone know about this channel. This particular episode, you don't even have to, the person doesn't even have to have a child with autism or be autistic. It should be an inspiration for anybody who really wants to do something, who really wants real hope and change in our communities. I'm hoping and praying that Michele's story will do that. So let everybody and anybody you know about Weathering Autism. Encourage them to subscribe. Until next time, God bless, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.